Hey guys, so today I am joined by Josie and Michelle from Josie Michelle Events.
Michelle
And Josie here.
So today we're talking about wedding planning, event planning, and I'm gonna be basically asking them a whole bunch of questions that might provide a little bit of value to you guys as you know you're considering whether or not you should be working with the wedding planner, what benefits they can provide to you, and kind of like the ins and outs of what kind of value you can provide to clients. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about yourselves and the company, where you started, what kind of events you do, which markets you guys serve?
Sure. Well, that's a lot of questions.
It's a lot of questions, yeah. So feel free to tackle it, however you'd like.
Yeah. So, we started about a little over 8 years ago, and we were two moms in our families who were always responsible for planning every single event, the holidays, the birthdays, and all of that. And somebody actually approached us and said, this is a business, and this is something that people actually charge for, and we never thought of it, something so fun. It was actually a business. So that's how we got the idea, and we actually launched and we got started.
So you started with birthday parties.
We did, and we had zero intention of doing weddings.
I started with birthday parties too.
Did you? Yeah, I thought weddings would be too complicated, and we didn't want to do that until one of our clients, whose birthday we did, said, "You have to do my wedding," and so that's how we got into it. And
And the funny part is that we started doing this wedding that it was even not intense. It was a Hindu wedding, and for us it was like graduation because it was a 4-day wedding.
Yeah.
And from there we took it, and we didn't market in that area. However, we still have that a good amount of clients that are from the Hindu industry.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. How does like a Hindu wedding compare to like the traditional like American wedding? For those of I know what you're talking about, and I know how much extra work can go into planning something like that. What is it, 3-4 day events?
Yes, it's usually 3 to 4 days events, and they're like back to back. When we get like a regular traditional wedding, for us it's like we got this.
Yeah.
We definitely pay attention to every client because the reason for that we're doing this is because we want everyone to have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's why they hire us, to make sure that they can enjoy the day off. But a Hindu wedding is like intense, and it's fun. It is fun from the colors and the traditions and the music and the food. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more logistics and vendors that need to be hired for a Hindu wedding. And although it's 3 to 4 days, it can be more events than that because there will be simultaneous events at the bride's home and the groom's home.
Right.
And so there's a lot to take into consideration. There's a lot of traditions to learn about. So on some occasions, we've had the opportunity to sit with a pundit in advance of the wedding and learn about all of the different things that need to happen.
Right.
So that we can truly be available to, bring yogurt if you forgot, or whatever it is that is going to be needed. Sometimes people forget something. In a traditional wedding, it's pretty easy to remember, most of the things that you want. But a Hindu wedding, so many days, you have to be really very well prepared to serve. But like Josie said, way brighter colors, a lot more people. Our usual American wedding, I'm going to say, is like between 150 to 200 generally.
Yep.
And then our Indian weddings are usually starting at 300 people. We've done up to 600 people.
Wow.
So it's just absolutely much more complex and more of a production. There's a lot more rental needs as well. They have different sort of furniture that is needed to create the entire ceremony.
I think my maximum was like 350, and like that was already overwhelming. I can't imagine 600.
600. We did a wedding for 600 people at the Hempstead House in the Sands Point Preserve. And for anybody who's worked there, you bring absolutely everything in. We had to bring in generators for the electricity outdoors. We needed to bring in the ice. We needed to bring in the garbage cans, like every single thing. And for 600 people, it was multiple days production. Unlike a regular wedding, a traditional American wedding where it's like 3 hours production. It was like 4 days.
Yeah.
In addition to the 4 days.
Yes.
I think when you start working on weddings of that scale, it would be very hard for a bride and groom to DIY it themselves, without working with somebody like you guys. But I kind of want to circle back. So we kind of went off on this kind of comparing a Hindu wedding specifically to the traditional American wedding. And in my experience, and I'm sure in your experience too, the structure, like the timeline, is generally pretty much the same for most weddings.
Yes.
Where like some of the differences might be whether or not we're doing a first look, for example. Sometimes people have a little bit more they bring in a little bit of like tradition from their cultural background. And what are some ways that you guys work with couples to make their wedding unique? So they, it's not just going down a standard timeline. How do you help them put something unique, a unique spin on their wedding to make it more memorable?
I will say is about them. So as you said, every wedding is like the standard is the same. However, the more the bride and groom put into themselves, the better, because it's gonna be about them, and everything changed from the music, the food, and their priorities. Because for some bride and groom, it might be like we care about the food. For other couple, might be no, we care about the music and the dance. A band, a DJ, but depends on the priority of the couple, and that's what makes them unique.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think a lot of this starts with like the first conversation you guys have with the couple. And I know it does for me. Is getting to know each other and like just making sure that the communication is there. Because the more that you know about them, the more suggestions that you can provide.
Yes.
So I think it's really important when couples are more open about themselves and actually want to create a working relationship together and actually become friends, together. And myself personally, like working with a lot of people, some people are more closed off. They kind of approach it as more of just a business transaction. But I really love working with people that, we become close together. I find out more about their values. And they're just a lot more kind of straightforward about what they prioritize, on their wedding day.
And you can do a better job, actually.
Exactly.
The more you know about them, the better job you can do.
Exactly.
We know what we know what they're gonna need, but the more we know, like personal items about them, the better job we can do.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And the best thing for us is when people are really willing to be themselves, because a lot of people, I think, are intimidated by the whole wedding process and pleasing parents and pleasing other family members. And when they do that, that's when they end up with like something very traditional or generic that doesn't necessarily suit them.
Right.
But when somebody is open and we know what they love and they let us act on it, it's really fun. So for one example, we had a couple that they were just such jokesters. And what they planned is a fake entrance, which I had never done before and never did again. And I wouldn't propose it to every couple. It's not for everyone.
Right.
And they actually hired a fake bride and groom to watch it. So where everybody's so hyped. And
I wasn't sure what you
excited.
meant by fake entrance until you said, okay, got it.
So like they were, you introduce the family, the parents, the bridal party, and everybody's hyped and ready for them.
Yeah.
And then this fake couple comes in and everyone's like, what? Like, are we in the right place? Like, everybody else was the right person. And you just wouldn't propose that for everybody. But for this particular couple...
That's actually really creative. I would have never even thought to do that.
Really well. We've had musical couples who perform at their own wedding, who sing to each other, like so many fun elements. But you only can make that happen if people are very honest and not shy about being themselves.
True. Yeah, very true. I know one of the funnier things like I've seen online, I've actually never shot this myself, I've been wanting to, is doing a fake first look where the best man dresses up as the bride.
We want to do that too.
If anybody out there wants to do that,
I'm down.
we got to make it happen.
I'm
so
down. I would love that.
What are maybe like some tips that you would give to brides and grooms that are starting out, they just got engaged very recently and they're starting their wedding planning journey? What's maybe like the top one or two things that they should consider when they're looking for a venue, for example?
When they're looking for a venue, once they are engaged, I think the main priority is set up your budget, because your budget is gonna determine, the kind of venue you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But that's will be my number one.
How would you go about even like, do you just think of a random number that is okay for you? Like, where do you start with that?
It's a real challenge, because I think that one thing that happens is that maybe not necessarily the groom, but a bride will have a lot of things in her head about what she wants, and she sees all these things on Pinterest, but there's no number tied to it. So we'll meet with people who say, I definitely want this. And then they see the price and like, we definitely don't want this, And so it is hard, but I think, yes, start with what you think, a random number that you think is appropriate. Do a little bit of research for your city, obviously, like you're in New York City versus Long Island versus New Jersey. Do a little bit of research, see what you're comfortable with, and then start visiting places and adjust. For your venue shopping, I think that you found the place when it feels like home. Honestly, that's what I always tell people. If you're going apartment shopping or home shopping, it's that same feeling where you both walk in and you're like, whoa, I want to come back here. Like, this is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
Once you have your venue or an idea of the quality or kind of venues that you like, then you can assume that's 50% of your budget.
The venue is 50% of your budget.
Approximately 50%. So you should be comfortable spending double that.
Got it.
I know comfortable.
That's a very easy, I think. It's a very easy to remember kind of like rule of thumb.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. And so I guess as we're on the topic of budget, so you guys serve which markets primarily?
New York and New Jersey.
New York and New Jersey. So anywhere from Long Island out to New Jersey.
Yes.
And
we'll travel though.
Absolutely. I think everybody in the industry is like
Hawaii.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so how do obviously every market has different price points, different average budgets that people tend to spend. New York City is a little bit higher than anything else kind of around. With that in mind, so we're talking about spending about 50% on the venue. How do you suggest that they kind of list their other priorities and then appropriate their budget, accordingly to what's most important to them? Is there a set rule, kind of like you said, 50% for the venue? Is there a certain percentage of that budget that should be allocated towards photography, videography, DJ, etc.?
Yeah, I would say it's what is the priority for the bride and groom. Once you get the venue, you also have to think a big amount will be for the catering and the food, and vendors that can only do one wedding at a time.
Yeah.
You cannot be in two places at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I would say once they get the venue, see what the most priority for them, and move that way so they can start nailing down all the main pieces.
Yeah, definitely. Lock down your vendors that are most important to you first.
Yes.
And because people that are in high demand will typically book out anywhere from 12 to 18 months out, I would say, from the wedding. And if that's a high priority for you, then I would definitely suggest locking that in as early as you possibly can.
Yes.
Whereas, for example, maybe a cake might not be the top priority for you, and there's so many bakeries around that can serve you, but being with a photographer the entire day, you want to make sure, for example, that your personalities mesh well together, and you enjoy working together, and the amount of people that are able to serve those needs for you might be a little bit more limited compared to other vendors.
Absolutely, yes. They have to be comfortable with every vendor they hire. They have to love everyone, because these are the people that are responsible to make your day be memorable. And if you're investing on them, you have to love them and you have to let them do their work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when couples start planning their wedding, they just got engaged.
Yeah.
How far out should they be looking at potentially booking an event planner like you guys? Immediately.
Ideally, I would say immediately. Some people pick a venue first, and we love to work with people at any point in the process, honestly, but I'll tell you, sometimes people will come to us and say, we took this venue because, I think that's the only one in this area, and, it's out of my budget, and I don't love the room, so I really have to decorate. And I'm like, why'd you pick that that venue?
Yeah.
I wish we had known each other before, and many times couples will say, gosh, I wish I had booked you earlier before I made these other decisions, and I've now signed contracts. So that's ideal. But we work with people at any point. It's also very convenient when somebody does have a venue and a date, and that's great. But as you say, certain vendors can only be at one place at a time.
Yeah.
So it's good to have your wedding planner very early, your photographer very early. Certain people should really just participate in the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
And you know what, too, the sooner you start, the better for you, because you can save. You have time to do research.
Yeah.
And you have time to actually, lock down those venues that you really want. So the more time you get, the better for you, actually.
Especially if you're getting married in, during peak season, I would say probably between May and maybe September.
Absolutely.
Those are probably the busiest months of the year. So especially if your date falls sometime in that time range, that was even more reason to get on top of things as early as possible.
Yes, and also because, believe it or not, the bride and groom that start with plenty of time, You have the chance to get the vendors that you really like. You'll get surprised to see like 12 months in advance. You're trying to hire somebody and it's already booked.
Yeah.
So the sooner the better. Yes.
Absolutely, totally agree. What difference does it make the amount of experience that a certain vendor has when they're working with a couple?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a huge difference when somebody's experienced, when they're insured and there's nothing to worry about.
Well, with insurance, a lot of venues these days won't even let you work there.
Exactly.
If you're not insured.
And that's how the bride and groom, they don't know when they start hiring vendors on their own. These are some of the questions that they don't know what to ask.
Yeah.
And as planners, we know what to ask to our vendors. And we are like lawyers for our clients, and we make sure that we only hire professionals.
Yeah. It makes such a big difference because sometimes one inexperienced vendor can make the other vendor's job just a little bit harder.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then you're trying to kind of like pick up things or so absolutely. You mentioned you're kind of like lawyers. I really like that comparison. In what so do you help, like, obviously you've been working with people, for other vendors for a long time now, and you have a Rolodex of suggestions that you can possibly provide. How do you feel about couples maybe like choosing somebody that you've worked with before, or versus like maybe choosing somebody that you've never worked with before? Do you communicate with other vendors that you've never worked with before, or like what's the process like on that side of things?
We love to work with new people.
Yes.
So on the one hand, we have built an amazing network of people. We never say like this is our photographer and our baker, because we are, as we mentioned before, we're working with so many different cultures and traditions. It's not a one size fits all at all. I do not send to a Dominican wedding, a Colombian wedding, an Indian wedding, a Jewish wedding, the same vendor team necessarily. And aside from that, we have very traditional couples, we have very modern couples, vintage couples. So it's very important for us to have connections in all of these areas, but also to continue expanding. So the benefit of working with someone that has been on our team for a very long time is just that, first of all, if they, wedding planners are the people who are recommending or referring clients very frequently to other vendors. So they will always treat these clients like gold. Obviously we want to continue working together. It's so easy to work together when you've really like built a relationship with someone.
Absolutely.
It goes so smoothly for the client. It's just like breathing. You don't have to worry about anything. You kind of like answer each other's questions. It's great.
Right.
Now sometimes for many different reasons, either you meet somebody amazing like yourself, or sometimes a client will come up with a unique need. Like one of our brides needed a mind reader. No one else had an urgent need for a mind reader at their wedding, but she needed one. So then we do research. That's what that process is like. It's a lot of research, interviewing. We kind of see if we have a good connection with people, and if we do, then we certainly recommend them to our clients. We do not recommend random people. It's not like Google, here's a guy. No.
Yes.
It's somebody that you've already had a relationship with, or somewhat,
or
like
at least vetted, and we've spoken to, and we know
the same way that a bride and groom would be, looking for somebody. So, but you're taking over that work for them, and making that process easier. You're doing the vetting rather than them.
Absolutely, yes. And you want to, there's certain things that we look for that maybe a bride and groom would not know if it's normal. For example, are you responsive? Are you friendly? Are you, like, how's your client service? And we found that if you're going to be nice to a wedding planner, you're going to be really nice to others, because apparently wedding planners are like the least popular people.
Really?
It seems we've come across other people who maybe have had not amazing experiences for whatever reason.
It must have not worked with you guys.
I think so. I will say, we're very proud of the fact that usually when we are leaving a venue, we're hugging with people.
Same. Every time.
Exactly. But some people, are they're concerned that maybe somebody's going to like take over or be bossy or something. I don't know.
Right, no.
But
no, you like planners make my life so much easier.
That's the idea.
It's like,
That's the idea.
And that's good to hear, because the main point for us is to make everybody lives easier.
Right.
Like on the wedding day, I cannot tell you what to do because you are the expert. I am only there to just fill in the gaps and make sure that the bride and groom arrive on time for you.
Right.
So that's the way we work with every vendor that day. Is like we are one step ahead of time from everybody, just telling them, oh, this is what's coming next. Because if let's say it's at the speech, there's a toast happening, we want to make sure that there's champagne on the glasses.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
And I'm thinking about where my lights are going. I'm not thinking about the champagne.
See,
So that's why I love it. Like it just works perfectly together
Yes.
because you guys tackle one side of things and I'll tackle the other side.
Yes.
And then like even for example, like so many of my couples that aren't working with planners, they have no idea like how to structure a timeline or well, usually they have some sort of idea because they've already booked the venue and then they probably talked with the coordinator there a little bit through it, but I end up doing the entire timeline for them, and I stress, especially certain points of the day that, guys, this is one thing that if we're running late on hair and makeup, it's gonna throw everything else off, and how many times does hair and makeup run late?
Yes.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah.
And that's why it's really important to have all professionals, including your hair and makeup artist, because, they understand, anybody who works weddings understands the investment per minute on that day.
Yes.
A hair and makeup artist, like if they said 9 a.m., 9 a.m. means they are set up and ready to go, chairs are out, music is open, mimosas are on the table.
Yes.
Like, it's going to be on time.
Yeah, that makes such a big difference. And I mean, I always tell people, brides and grooms coming to me, let's say you have a bridal party of 8 girls, and let's say each of them run about 5 minutes late with hair and makeup. You're backed up, 40 minutes?
Yeah.
And 5 minutes late per girl, that's not,
That's
unheard
the
of.
length of your ceremony.
That's exactly. Exactly. I don't know about you guys, but one of the biggest pieces of advice that I have for couples is to, if possible, try to do absolutely everything at the same place, at the same venue.
Oh, yes.
So if you are getting ready, in the bridal suite of the venue, and with the same thing with the groom, both of you guys are getting ready at the venue. You're doing a ceremony at the venue, portraits at the venue. So pick a venue with nice grounds, a lot of photo opportunities there. What could otherwise be a potentially 12-hour day, we could squeeze that into 7-8 hours sometimes.
And they're less tired. Less things go wrong.
You're not paying all your vendors for traveling back and forth.
Yeah, and you have more flexibility to do a better job because you have plenty of time to actually, make them feel more, more for what they pay for.
Yeah. And obviously, these venues that allow for that might be, because you're doing everything there, might be a little bit more pricey, but think about how much you're saving, like maybe booking a shorter photography package, for example. Or so one more question before we start wrapping up. Pinterest. Every bride is probably using it these days. How do we feel about that?
I live in Pinterest.
You live in Pinterest.
I live in Pinterest land.
I think it makes our lives easier. Pinterest can go very good or very bad for the bride and groom, but they don't know that. Like the more they give me, the better, the way better. And usually when we get a bride, we ask them like, do you have a Pinterest board? You want to send it to us? I can't tell if they are all over the place, but I can also tell, like, I definitely see that they are more vintage because because of what they posting. But I love Pinterest. I think it's great. I think it's the way for them to envision the way their wedding is gonna look. So I think it's amazing.
It gives you just a very clear visual understanding of what their style and what their preferences are. The theme of the wedding, maybe color palettes, things like that.
Yes, what they can't articulate, we can see in the trends of what they've collected. So it's actually very, very helpful. I think, as Josie said, it can be dangerous for the reason that people fall in love with things that maybe are not within their budget. However, as planners, it's our job to be creative and help them figure out what are your priorities and how can we still bring you your wish list items, like what's really going to be very important to you, and can we recreate this in some other way? Like maybe it's not going to come from that vendor or that company and it won't be the exact same thing, but you're still going to essentially get what you want. So it's very important, and it really helps us with the design. So we're not just planners, we're also designers. So we are looking for those details. We really love it.
So when you say designers, you mean like what like specifically? You're not talking about invitations or anything like that.
We provide a design aspect for your wedding. So we have the bride and groom that likes to plan us the whole wedding, and we have the bride and groom that say, no, I hire all my main vendors. All I need help is putting all the visuals together, and we also provide that service.
Got it.
Yeah, so it does begin with save the date, invitation, your cake design, your centerpiece, your linen. It's really a service for the couple that is very, very interested in the details. Like that's a high priority for them.
Yes.
So they don't want, what comes in a package with the florist or with the venue. They want everything to be personally designed for them. That's when we come in.
And just a consistent theme.
Exactly.
Like you mentioned, starting with the save the dates.
Exactly.
Color palettes are the same as the linens on the tables of the reception room, for example.
Exactly.
And it's really funny sometimes when we get in the first interview, we try to get a feel of what is that they really need. Sometimes they are, oh no, I'm calling you because I need a day of coordination.
Yeah.
And when I start asking my questions about, the style that you're having, are you renting any linens? Are you, what are you getting? Is, many of them, they don't even know. And, it's our job to let them know, well, the florist is gonna deliver the flowers, is gonna place it on your table, but they have nothing to do with the favors or the way the napkins are gonna be folded.
Yeah.
So we pay close attention to all these details.
Yeah. And it's things that you might not even think twice about. Like, you know, like, who I would never think, oh, which way is my napkin going to be folded,
We do.
So,
We
exactly.
We think about all of those things, and we believe that the guest experience begins with the invitation that they're receiving. That should create some kind of an excitement. It should give them sort of like a window into what the day is going to be like.
Yeah.
When you get an invitation, you already know the outfit you want to wear. Like you get the idea of what it's going to be like, where it's going to be, the time of year. So that's really important. And on the day of, so Josie described the process of designing and all the different elements that we look at. But on the day of, you also need somebody to put it together. So our team, we actually have a production team that will come in and set
How big is your
everything
team,
up.
by the way?
17.
17 people.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is not like a small scale thing,
We are, our team we have a big group of family members.
Okay.
So we are actually family members.
Yeah.
She's my aunt.
Oh yeah. Did we mention that?
You did not mention that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It started as
So it's a family business.
It is a family-owned business, and half of our team, especially on the design side, is family. We started out in the design world, and most people would call us to decorate, basically. But we eventually started expanding. People needed other services, and we realized very early on that we needed different skills in our team, and so we started hiring other planners and coordinators and people that can help us on that side of the house.
And everybody just kind of focuses on what they're best at.
Exactly.
And
and we do have training. We are we're very particular about our team. So actually, nobody joins our team without doing a 6-month internship. That's really important because we want to make sure that they love what they do. They have a passion. They really embody our mission and our core values. They work well with us. They're communicative, and we have to make sure that they're the right fit for our clients.
I'm totally on the same page with you guys. The only photographers that I work with, like if somebody's booking a 2-photographer package, or people that are just as passionate as I am, they're happy to wake up in the morning, and it's like get the same thrill that I get when I look at the back of the camera and I see what we just created.
Yes,
I know.
And that's what just.
I like to sneak into the back of the camera
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah.
So I run around. I'm like, wait, can I see? What'd you get? What'd you get there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one more thing. Let's say a couple hires you 12 months out. Okay, their wedding is exactly 1 year from today. What does the rest of the year look like? How often do you guys talk? What does communication look like? Is it email? Is it phone calls? Can they just call you anytime? Is that limited or not?
No, we have couples, not all our couples even live in this area, so we are very flexible with forms of communication. So we're talking by email, by text, WhatsApp. Some people want Facebook Messenger, God love them. Like we're trying to, communicate on every platform that makes people comfortable. And as soon as people hire us, the first thing that we do, if it's a year out, is we prepare monthly goals for them. So we have a timeline that is meant to keep people moving through the process without being overwhelmed with too many things to do or too many things to pay for. Like even the way we've designed our payment plans, it's because we know you're going to be making a major deposit to a venue very soon and to a photographer. We want to make everything as easy and convenient as possible for everyone. So we shoot for a goal a month, which means we're talking weekly pretty much at least every 2 weeks, like when things get a little quieter. In the beginning, we talk a lot. In the middle of the process, not so much because they're off doing personal things, shopping, hair, makeup trials, stuff like that. And then, when crazy mode hits, right before the wedding, we're talking a lot again.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of communication.
It's good. I'm kind of the same way. The communication, like there's a little bit of a lull in it, like somewhere in the middle, because we get a lot of the details sorted early on, and then we have to kind of wait till a lot of things just kind of sort them out with other vendors, before we go, let's say about 2 months before the wedding, we start really finalizing the timeline, ironing out those details. Is there anything else that you guys want to share with us about wedding planning or about your company?
I think it is important to know for the clients. For instance, the service that we provide, we divide it into 3. So we are full wedding planning. We also do wedding design, and we also do wedding day of coordination. So we have sort of like 3 packages. And this is when the clients come to us as a lead and asking like how much it is. This is why we need to talk.
Yeah.
So we'll custom made a package for you depending on your needs.
Yeah. Josie said before that wedding planners are like lawyers for their clients, and when people ask me, sometimes I say we're project managers / therapists.
You're everything.
We are. Yeah,
you wear all the hats.
We're wearing all the different hats. We form very personal relationships with our clients, and we start to see a lot of the things that are happening with the families, with the couples. So it's very important to work with somebody that you're very comfortable with, that you're going to be sharing with, and that you can be very honest with. Another thing is our mission is celebrate life, spread joy. And that's really important, and we try to make sure that carries its way through all the way through the planning process. So one of the tips that we have for couples is keep in mind what you are celebrating. It's very important, and our couples are so amazing. So this is not something that I see with our couples, but sometimes people call us and they're like, my cousin had this wedding and I want it to be better, and I'm like, it's not what it's about.
Yeah.
There's something else that we're celebrating here. You have to stay focused. Even though money can be very stressful, family can be very stressful, you always have to bring it back. And so our tip is make sure that you've made the decision to be happy on the day of your wedding. There may be rain. There may be an angry family member. There may be too much liquor. So many things may happen, but no matter what, you have to make that decision in advance. And we really help with that, and we try to set that tone all the way through and always keep things calm. A lot of people will joke around and say, why are you so calm right now? It's like, it's just my job to be calm. That is what I am.
If you're not calm, that energy is going to go right onto them. It's contagious.
So energy management is part of it.
Energy is contagious.
But it's very important for couples to make that decision for themselves as well.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Another tip that I want to give them is trust your vendors. On the day of, just live to them. Like, enjoy your day. You plan for so many months that on the wedding day, let everybody do their job and just enjoy.
Just enjoy your day.
And enjoy every moment. It's going to go like this.
So good.
Yes.
You chose the people that you did because you trusted them in the first place. And, just don't forget that the day of the wedding. Don't stress. I honestly don't have issues regarding that very often, if ever at all. But it's definitely, I would definitely agree. It's important.
Yes.
Yeah,
trust is everything.
Yes.
And then when you are on the same page with the couple, it just works so naturally and organically.
Oh yes.
It's true. We find that we definitely find that's true. Like one example that I can think of sometimes is a couple will work so hard to select like almost every song for the evening. And it's like, you know what? The DJ's the DJ.
Yeah.
Tell the DJ what you like, and they're gonna get it. Like, let them have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah. And I've spoken to DJs too, and like a lot of the good ones will realize that they have to read the crowd.
Exactly.
Because sometimes couples will give them a song selection list, and they'll play through a couple of songs, but nobody's dancing.
Yes. We feel so bad.
and they're just so tied to that list that they provided, and they're so romantic about it that they refuse to have the professional try something that based off their expertise, so their experience is going to actually get the crowd moving and dancing. So that's another reason, that's a great example, I think, of trusting your vendors.
Yes.
Same thing goes for DJs. They're there because, you select them based off of good reviews, based off of your research that you've done.
Yeah.
Don't forget that the day of the wedding.
Yes, and on your end too. Like I understand sometimes if the bride and groom priority is to dance. However, what is after the wedding? The photos. So if you get them to take them out just for 1 minute, just
Yes.
give
night
me
shot.
the shot.
The
That
night
might
shot.
be the one that they love the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, trust your vendors. Yes, they know.
Yes, absolutely. And that just comes, all throughout the day, even with the timeline, like you said, if the party's great, I'm not going to stop them immediately for this bouquet toss. Like they're dancing, they're having a good time.
Yes.
5 more minutes, like let them finish out the song.
Yeah.
That's something that we work with the venue, the photographer, the MC, and just make sure that we are also using proper judgment.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all of this experience is for that reason.
Right. Yeah. Like we every single wedding, we have timelines that are sometimes to the minute of like what time a speech is going to be, what time the cake cutting is going to be. But end of the day, like there's so many things that, we get thrown curveballs, things happen. People from the bridal party go missing and it delays everything.
Yes.
A lot of things can
gosh,
potentially happen.
Yeah.
And I think as professionals, what kind of separates us based off of experience is knowing how to handle those curveballs.
Yes.
And just staying calm, staying in control.
Yeah.
And I think at least my couples really appreciate that.
The curveball.
Yeah, and every single wedding, I've yet to have a wedding that went every single thing on the timeline exactly according to plan.
No.
No.
Things always go.
Yes.
But I love what you said before. Make sure you're making the decision to be happy on your wedding day.
Absolutely.
Very important.
That is you got to tweet that out.
Some people I can tell have made the decision to be unhappy. And it's not even like it's more about the nerves and being so worried about your itinerary. I've had brides like checking like how are we on time, and it's like no, go back on the dance floor, have fun. That's us.
Yeah.
We've got that handled. You shouldn't look at a time, a clock, a watch.
Just
nothing.
relax, have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. Some people are just very, very worried about that, and you need to know that about yourself in advance. And it's not even that. Sometimes it's not even about like the bride herself is somebody who's very concerned about timing. It could be somebody who's so overly respectful of their parents or a particular aunt that the whole evening they're worried about that person, and we see that and we feel bad. And we're like, how can we help you let that go? Like, let's love them a lot tomorrow, but let's let's really have fun today and do you today.
Yeah.
It's a lot of little things, and you have to know that in advance.
So guys, where can couples find out more about you?
Our website, josiemichelleevents.com, and we're also pretty active on Instagram and Facebook as well, but mostly Instagram for the absolute latest.
Okay, what's your Instagram?
Josie Michelle Events.
Josie Michelle Events, guys. So check them out on Instagram, check out their website. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Yes, thank you for having us. This was so much fun.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So much fun. I can't wait to work with you more.
Absolutely. Same. Likewise. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to wrap up and start planning some weddings. See you guys. Bye.
Nice.
Nice.
That was awesome. That was
Good
great.
job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. That was incredible.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That went so well.